Joining me now is UFC featherweight fighter who debuts against Danny Henry at UFC London on March 17th. It is mean Hakeem Dawodu back on the program. Hakeem, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just chilling, just getting back from the gym, just finished having some supper.
Excellent. Good to hear, and hope training has been going well. Speaking of training, I gotta, want to mention off the top, you have been training for this camp in Ireland. You've been at SBG Ireland, the SBG headquarters, obviously the home of Conor McGregor and many other top fighters. When did you first make the trip out there?
I think I've been here since last month on the 25th. So I think was that April 25th? That was what was last month?
February.
Yeah, February. No, I came out here even before that. I've been here for about 6 weeks, actually, to be honest. So it's been a long stay. So
was that your first time out there? Like 6 weeks ago when you first arrived, was that your first time ever at SBG? For some reason, I was thinking you were there longer. Am I wrong?
No, I've been here for about 7 weeks. It's my first time actually coming out to SBG. So yeah, I've been to Ireland, Dublin before, but that was way back in the day when I used to play soccer. This is my first time actually coming out here and training at SBG.
Gotcha. How is it? Obviously, a very popular gym thanks to Conor McGregor, but good coaches, good training partners, I would think. How is everything at SBG, especially for your first time?
It's a good gym. Of course, when you're training at a new gym, it's a bit difficult at first. Getting the right schedule. Making sure you have your pad holders and your sparring partners. But within a week, I was able to put it all together, and I got a really good system going on right now. So the training's been good grappling. I feel ready to fight for sure. It's been a good training camp. No injuries.
Do you want to train at SBG full time eventually, or will you always have a little bit of your training time home in Calgary?
Yeah, of course I'm always going to be, in Calgary training. I got all of my specifics there. My boxing coach, my original Muay Thai coach, Brian Bird, my MMA coach, my wrestling coach, and my strength conditioning coach is all based out of Calgary. But I think how it's going to look is, Calgary is going to be my base, and I'm going to be flying out here quite frequently to train at SBG for my fights and all that. So, I think it's going to be a back and forth type of thing.
So the majority of your camp, your actual fight camp, will be in Ireland?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it's going to go down. So, I'm liking it so far, and, we'll just take it one fight at a time.
Very cool. Of course, this will be your first fight in the Octagon. There was a large period of time last year that you didn't really know whether you'd be signed to the UFC, whether you'd go to another promotion, maybe go back even to PFL, although that wasn't really top of your bucket list, so to speak. How relieving was it when you finally did get that call that you had waited for so long?
It was very relieving. I was looking into, signing with Bellator. I was maybe thinking going back PFL. I was getting a bit anxious, but when I got the call, I'm happy I waited, and I feel like this is a right fit, and it's my time to make a big shock in the featherweight division and get to that title belt.
It'll be almost exactly come fight night at UFC London. You're fighting March 17th. I think your last fight was March 18th of last year, 2017. It'll be almost a year exactly. Are you concerned about the layoff at all?
No, I'm not concerned about the layoff. Even though I've had a lot of fights, this is like my 70th fight altogether in my whole fight career. Also last year I had a little bit of injuries that were lagging, so the time off allowed my injuries to heal and allowed me to be 100%, and I got to work on my game and come into this training camp with no injuries holding me back. So although it was a little bit of time off, I haven't stopped. I feel sharp, and I think you guys are going to be surprised and see a new Hakeem this fight camp.
You officially signed with the UFC in November, so we're talking already a few months ago. And I know there was initially talks of maybe fighting in Edmonton back in September. That, of course, didn't happen because you didn't get signed in time for that card. But then UFC Winnipeg seemed to be a good option as a Canadian. But then that still didn't happen. Why has it taken so long to get your debut finally scheduled?
I don't really know. You'd have to talk with the UFC. I was open to fight for all those fight cards. So, I don't really know, what the holdup is, but I'm here now, and people better pay attention.
I guess you're not too concerned about that because UFC Edmonton, UFC Winnipeg are behind us, UFC London is in front of us. You got the fight, nothing to complain about anymore.
Exactly, and now that I got the fight rolling. After this, I'm gonna bang them all out, and I'm gonna put together some. I'm gonna have quick turnarounds and bang out as many fights as I can this year.
Are you excited to be fighting in London just because you are in Ireland? And I mean, not saying I'm an expert geographer in Europe, but I mean they're both in Europe. They're relatively close. Is it nice to not really have to get acclimated to the London time zone and all of that?
Yeah, it was definitely a good move on my part, and I'm excited to fight in London because I got family out in London. A lot of my family from Nigeria moved out to London, so I'm gonna have some good support out there as well.
That's interesting.
So it's a good time. Exactly.
What family do you have out there? Just uncles and aunts and?
Yeah, my uncle, my aunties, you know what I mean? All that, and a couple cousins, they're all going to be out there supporting me. So they've been in London for years now. So it's good timing, and it's a good location, and I'm happy that I'm able to see some of my family out there as well, and they can see what I do.
You're kind of stepping into enemy territory. Your opponent, Danny Henry, is from Scotland. He's European. You're not. But it might actually feel a bit like a hometown crowd just having your family there, will it?
Whether or not it feels like a hometown crowd or not, I'm used to being the out-of-town boy. And, once they see me fight and once they see what I'm going to do this fight, I think they're going to favor me and they're going to really know what me and Hakeem's all about.
I'm curious, how did some of your family from Nigeria end up in London while your small, immediate family ended up in Canada? How did that all work out?
They kind of, my grandpa, he's from Nigeria. He moved to Calgary, and his brothers and sisters they moved to London. That's kind of where my family is. I got family all over the world. I'm half Nigerian, half Jamaican, so I got a lot of family in London. I got family in Calgary. I also got a lot of family in Jamaica. So we're all kind of spread out.
Very cool. If you don't mind me asking, what part of you is Jamaican? Is your mom from Jamaica or?
My mom's Nigerian and my dad is Jamaican, so that's how it works out.
Very cool. Speaking of your Nigerian roots, so to speak, I know a lot of talk, or there has been some talk about maybe having a UFC Africa card finally, just because we have more and more UFC fighters who they have roots in Africa. I know they just signed a South African fighter, Don Madge. You have, Israel Adesanya is a new fighter. You have Kamaru Usman. The list goes on and on. Is that something you'd be interested in? I mean, them going to Africa and you being able to represent where some of your family is from?
I'd most definitely be interested in a card like that. So, if they officially put it together, my name's officially on there and I'm ready to rock. So I hope, they can bring it back to Africa because, a lot of my family out there would love to see that. And I think it'd be very good for, bringing MMA to Africa and, bringing in a new market. There is a lot of us now. So, it just seems like the right move.
And is it fair to say that the family you still do have, or let me clarify, I think you might have said so, do you still have family in Nigeria?
Yeah, I do. My grandpa just moved back to Nigeria, and I got a lot of family in Nigeria. We got like a whole little a street named after us in Nigeria. So when I go there, it'll definitely feel like home.
And I would imagine the family you have there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is an assumption, but is it fair to say that the family you have there isn't as familiar with your fighting career?
Definitely. They don't know too much about my fighting career. They know that I fight, but I don't think they've ever seen it up live and personal. So I'd love to get them to the UFC and show how big of a show it really is.
And then on the other side of your family, I guess UFC Jamaica would be something you'd like as well.
Yeah, if they can definitely make something like that happen, I'd be interested. I've been to Jamaica a couple of times. My dad obviously lives in Jamaica. I got a lot of aunties and cousins that live in Jamaica, so if they made that happen, it makes sense that I'd be on that card. I don't know who else they put on it.
You really weren't lying when you said you have family all over the world. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is just kind of how it worked out. Everyone kind of took their separate paths, and I try to stay connected with everybody, and I'm just representing the family right now, and trying to symbolize great thing, being a great athlete, and trying to be a leader.
Absolutely. So to this fight, do you know much about Danny Henry? He has one fight in the UFC, just a tiny bit more octagon experience than you do, with you this being your debut. Do you know much about him? Have you researched him? How do you sort of see this one playing out? What do you do better than him?
Personally, I feel I do everything better than him. I see that, he looks like he's got like a decent chin. He's durable, but I feel like this is my fight, and I feel like my skill level is a lot higher than he is, and I'm just going to do whatever I want.
And as far as staying active, you mentioned a little while ago that you plan on, you want to have a fair number of fights this year. You want to have, maybe 3 fights or so. What exactly are you looking at? Is 3 fights, including the London card, sort of what you're looking at? Is that ideal? Do you want more? How active do you want to stay this year?
I'm hoping to bang out 4 fights this year. The last league I was with, if you look at the league I was with, almost all the fighters on that roster weren't that active. That league, it just, they weren't enough fights. And, now that I'm out and I'm in the UFC, I'm going to be able to fight a lot more often because I'm not stuck in. So, I'm expecting at least 4 fights this year.
A bit of a general question, but what are your expectations as far as your career goes in 2018 for the rest of 2018? You want to have 4 fights, including this one coming up against Danny Henry. How far do you make it? Like, are you a ranked featherweight by the time the year's over? What are your expectations, if you have any?
Definitely, I'm planning on being a ranked featherweight by the end of this year. I want my name to be out there, and within the next year or 2, I want to definitely start making a title run and get that belt, and bring UFC back to Calgary, Canada, and have a show there. That's the plan.
Awesome. And I guess, we were talking about maybe having UFC Africa, UFC Jamaica, you being in London, having your family there, but at the end of the day, is sort of the top of the list having that UFC Calgary card that is oh so deserved to the Calgary fans?
Definitely. I feel like Calgary definitely wants to have UFC again. I feel like we're big supporters in MMA, and it definitely sell out in Calgary. We could have it at the Saddle Dome or the TELUS Convention Center, whatever they want to do it, and I think that'd be a wise move. But like I said before, I'm going to get my name out there, make sure the world knows me, and then we'll bring it back to Calgary.
Quick question. This entire card is on Fight Pass only. I would imagine you've had to... Or have you had the conversation with family, friends, hey, go to Fight Pass, 7-day trial, to cancel it after? Has that been a fairly frequent conversation you've had leading up to the fight?
Yeah, I'll make sure everybody knows. I think I don't even really have to say much. Everybody was already, most people knew more than I did about the fight, you know what I mean? So everybody's, very interested. My friends and family, they've been wanting to see this for a long time, so they've already been on that. They already got Fight Pass. And they already know what's going on.
Awesome. Well, UFC London on March 17th, you're taking on Danny Henry in your UFC debut, your highly anticipated, long-awaited debut. Hakeem, thank you so much for the time. Last question. Prediction, do you have one? How do you feel like you get the job done?
I feel like I'm definitely going to put Danny Henry away. I don't know if it's going to be the first round or the second round or the third round, but I'm planning a big finish this fight. That's for sure.
Excellent. Hakeem, thank you as always for the time. It's great catching up, and congratulations on signing with the UFC. I know it took a lot longer than maybe you expected, but at least that's in the past, and you're now in the UFC where you belong. Before I let you go, remind my audience where they can find you on social media, and if there's anybody you'd like to thank or give a shout-out to, the floor is yours.
Definitely. You guys can find me on Instagram at @MeanHakeem, my official Facebook page at @MeanHakeem, my Twitter at @MeanHakeem. I want to give a big shout-out to Champions Creed, a big shout-out to Mike Miles Muay Thai Kickboxing, a big shout-out to SPG, a big shout-out to the Athlete Factory, Teal Fist of Boxing, and everybody back in Calgary.